Welcome. I'm Sebastian Mahfood, and you're listening to WCAT Radio, the on-air wing of En Route Books and Media, bringing you the dulcet sounds of Catholic wisdom.
In the history of the children of Israel, there are two distinct moments that stand out always in their memory. First is the Exodus event back in the book of Exodus. You recall how they had spent 430 years in the land of Egypt, and finally God sends Moses to come and lead them out of that land of slavery and lead them to the promised land. The second most important event in the life of the Hebrew people is the time when Judah, the southern kingdom, fell into exile and the people were sent to Babylon, where they lasted for 70 years. It is in that context that we have our first reading today from the prophecy of Isaiah. If you've ever read the prophecy of Isaiah, you recall that it has 66 chapters. It is one of those longer books in the Old Testament. But those 66 chapters tell us the whole span of the 70 years of these people who were in exile in Babylon. The first 39 chapters tell you how the prophet constantly warned them, change your ways. Change your ways. Well, if you recall the story, they refused to change their ways, and the result, they were carried out to exile. But, knowing that God is God and God is not man, God sends a prophet to remind them of his love. And so, the 40th to the 55th chapter of the prophecy of Isaiah, which is the context of today's first reading, is a whole context whereby they have all been given hope. The prophet is trying to tell them, God has not forgotten you. In fact, it used such a powerful image in today's first reading, and these are the words. Even if a mother should forget the child of her womb, I will never forget you. Some of you are mothers. You know how powerful that intimate union between a mother and a child, how close that union is. But God's love for each of us far surpasses all of that, so much so that if I asked you now, how many of you would remember what you had for breakfast 3 weeks ago? Maybe no one will. If I asked you, do you recall all of the words you said yesterday? Probably not. But I dare say to you, whatever your life has been in the past, whatever it is right now, and what it will be in days to come, it's all known by God. That is how powerful God's love for us stretches. In fact, the first reading today ends just at the point whereby the next line it says, I have carved you on the palm of my hands. God has carved every single one of us on the palm of our hands. In other words, there is no challenge we go through in life. There is no joy we experience. There is no temptation which we undergo or trial in our life which is not known to God. You might pray and pray and pray, and it seems to you that nothing is happening. Recall the story we read this past Sunday about the prodigal son. It reminds us that sometimes if we receive gifts too early in life, or when we are not ready, we fall short of appreciating that gift. But God's time is always the best. He knows the right time to bestow his gifts to us. And sometimes as humans, we would expect that God will operate on our own time zone. But the truth is, he never operates on our time zones. He knows the best time to bestow any gift to you. If you struggle with patience, don't worry. Keep struggling with it. As long as you're struggling with it, God is going to give you the grace to be able to be patient. If you struggle with love, keep struggling with it. God is going to give you the gifts to be able to overcome whatever stops you from loving the way you ought to love. Whatever it is you've been struggling with, and we all have struggles, every single one of us, from the best to the worst. We all have something we struggle with. But God, in his love, will give us the grace at every single moment of our lives to remind us that He will never forget us. So today, as we gather as a people of faith, it is a time to remind ourselves the words of our psalm, that the Lord is gracious and merciful. Our God indeed is gracious and merciful. In fact, it shows us that He is gracious and merciful in this Eucharist, where we receive His body, blood, soul, and divinity. And so, maybe at this moment in your life, you struggle with doubt. The prophecy of Isaiah today says, God will not forget you. Maybe you struggle with one form of sickness or the other. The prophecy of Isaiah says, God will not forget you. And maybe there is a temptation that keeps coming to you over and over again. And you've almost come to the point of giving up. God says, He will never forget you. Those are His words. And you know that when God makes a promise, He oftentimes makes a promise at the point whereby we are just on the verge of doubting His promises. Think of Abraham. God had promised him a son. He waited 25 years. Think of all of those great people in the Old Testament. I'm not telling you you're going to wait 25 years, but you might wait longer. But what I'm saying is this. God will never forget you. Those are His words, and those are His promises to us.
We hope you enjoyed the program and will join us back for another show on WCAT Radio. This is Sebastian Mahfood. Good day.